There's a moment in every episode of Family Guy where you laugh and then, just for a fraction of a second, you stop. Something in the back of your mind whispers that what you just watched wasn't funny, it was disturbing, and you only smiled because the show told you to. Peter Griffin has been doing this for over 2 decades. He is the lovable idiot of Quahog, bumbling, loud, completely without self-awareness. We root for him the way you root for a car crash in slow motion, horrified but unable to look away. But there are episodes where the mask slips, where the comedy thins out and underneath it you see something that isn't a joke at all. This is one of those episodes. It starts innocuously enough. Game night at the Griffin house, neighbors gathered around the table. Lois, desperate to keep the peace, the way she always is, the way she always has to be, secretly uses a preschool edition of Trivial Pursuit so Peter can win. Think about that for a moment. The person who is supposed to be his partner, his equal, his wife, has quietly accepted that the only way her husband can feel good about himself is if the game is rigged in his favor. And Peter, completely oblivious, soaks up every ounce of praise like a man who has never once questioned whether he deserves it. Brian, who has always been the show's sharpest edge, pushes back. He challenges Peter to take a real intelligence test, the MacArthur Fellows Program exam, the kind designed to identify geniuses. What comes back is something no one in the room knows how to handle. Peter Griffin is, by clinical definition, intellectually disabled. The result isn't played gently. It's broadcast, it becomes public. And Peter for once feels the weight of a world that has labeled him and filed him away. For a brief moment, Family Guy almost becomes something else entirely. Peter sinks into a genuine depression. The laughter drains out of the frame. You're watching a man confront the fact that society has decided what he is worth, and has decided it is very little. There is something real in that scene, something uncomfortably human, but then the show makes a turn. A turn that reveals exactly what this episode is really about. Peter accidentally knocks down Tom Tucker with his car. Tucker, recognizing him as the retarded fellow, declines to press charges. And in that instant, Peter's face changes. The grief evaporates. Something calculating moves behind his eyes. He has just discovered that his diagnosis is not a burden. It is a weapon. What follows is a sequence that, if you described it out of context, would sound like the behavior of someone in genuine crisis. Peter begins systematically testing the limits of what he can get away with. He storms into a church and hurls Bibles at the congregation. He kicks open the stall doors of a women's restroom. He grabs a microphone at a fast food restaurant and screams obscenities into it. Not out of confusion, but because he is enjoying himself. He is not acting out of disability. He is exploiting a system that has decided to look away from him, and he is milking it with the precision of someone who has always believed the rules didn't apply to him. The episode wants you to laugh at this, and many people do, but sit with it a little longer. What Peter is doing is using a medical diagnosis as immunity from consequences. He is weaponizing vulnerability, a concept that outside the animated world of Quahog carries a very specific and very ugly name. And then he finds the deep fryer. He wants to take it home. In the chaos that follows, Lois is drenched in scalding hot grease. She is hospitalized. And this is where the episode stops pretending to be lighthearted, even briefly, because the consequences arrive in a wave. Child Protective Services removes Meg, Chris, and Stewie from the home. His children are taken from him not as a punchline. As a result, Peter's response to losing custody of his children is to bring 7 prostitutes into Cleveland's house, the neighbor who has taken them in an attempt to frame Cleveland as an unfit guardian. 7. He does not try to demonstrate that he is a capable parent. He does not reflect on the grease incident or show remorse for Lois's injuries. He tries to destroy someone else's reputation to win by default. When that fails, he stands before a judge and pleads his case. He will then escapes imprisonment only because the judge, in one of the show's most nihilistic gags, simply forgets that prisons exist. No accountability, no reckoning, no consequence that sticks. This is the formula that fans have been quietly discussing for years in comment sections and Reddit threads and video essays that never quite get the attention they deserve. Peter Griffin is not just a bumbling idiot. He is a man who causes real measurable harm to the people around him and faces no lasting punishment for it. Lois will smell like French fries for 6 months, and the show treats this as the punchline. The kids come home, everything resets. Peter is overjoyed, but Lois was burned, her children were taken, her home was compromised. And by the end of the episode, she is standing in the kitchen smiling. Family Guy is a comedy. That disclaimer is always available, always ready to be deployed the moment the analysis gets uncomfortable. But the best and most honest readings of Peter Griffin don't come from dismissing the darkness, they come from looking directly at it, because the show is not just satirizing the lovable idiot archetype. It is, sometimes without meaning to, documenting what it looks like when a man with no empathy, no self-awareness, and no accountability moves through the world surrounded by people who keep choosing to forgive him. The line in this episode is not crossed in a single moment. It is crossed gradually, incrementally, one absurdity at a time, until you look up and realize you are far from where you started and the show is still laughing and you are the only one who noticed how far you've gone. That should make you uncomfortable. It does.